What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Yamcast. We took a 3-week hiatus on accident because a bunch of stuff happened, but we're back now. Yamcast 67 is here. We march ever closer to Yamcast 69.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be a good one. Today, we've got news from KTM and Husqvarna. Going to have some motorcycles that are not going to be made anymore. We're also going to have KTM making sport bikes again. We've also got a news from Chinese Super Sports, some news about that. And we also have news from our local racetrack, Circuit of the Americas, a quick little blurb. And then we're also going to be doing our listener Q&A call-in section, but today we're going to be talking about adventure bikes. Our theme for today is adventure bikes, why they're popular, what's going on with them. So for all the boys at home, y'all are going to be sending us DMs and we'll be reading them and discussing why adventure bikes are so gosh darn popular right now. And then finally, we have our meme contest of the week, where we will be admonishing and making fun of hipster motorcyclists, because it wasn't enough that we did them dirty in that video. We got to keep kicking them while they're down.
Yeah, this one is timely. I didn't plan on a 3-week break when I was coming up with this Yamcast.
Yeah, we're like going back in the vault, being like, you know what? F*** those hipsters. Let's get them again. Did not pan out that way. So stick around. It is going to be a good one.
But the news is up, and speaking of the news, let's start out with the first one, which is Husqvarna is discontinuing the 701 Vitpillen and Svartpillen platforms.
Whitney's going to be editing this one. She can put a big sad face right here.
Yeah.
That's her beloved Svartpillen 701. She waited many years to get it, and it's just so sad that it's going to be discontinued. It's a good motorcycle, you know? I get it. You know,
I'm more worried personally because this is tangentially related to me. I'm worried about the 690 platform going away.
Yeah. Yep.
But so it's weird to me because they're not getting rid of the Svartpillen 401
because they know it's God tier.
The 125. Apparently, they make a 125.
What? They do?
Which is crazy. So they're not getting rid of those motorcycles, which makes me think that they just believe their segmentation is too contrasting. Like they have 690, 790, 890, now 990.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
That's kind of a lot. And they're working on the 901, which is what this bike is. We talked about it a while ago, is this new 901 platform. And this has me excited for a whole lot of reasons. Specifically because I think there's going to be an SMCR 901 or, well, 890, which would be awesome.
I think at that point, you should cross-shop the Hyper, not Strata, the Hyper Motard.
The Hyper Motard's like $17,000.
You don't think the KTM's going to be spicy?
God, no. The 890 Duke, the like fancy one, costs $13,000.
Okay.
So even if the SMCR is punched up a little bit,
14.5.
Yeah, and then I don't have to deal with Desmos.
Well, hold on. Let me do this. How much was your bike?
My bike was 11.7.
11.7. Okay.
I bought it 11.7 out the door.
We're adding another cylinder, so I'm gonna ballpark it at $23,000 because it's twice the cylinders, so it's gonna be more.
That's some Ducati shit right there.
Yeah, so what's going to happen here is Husqvarna, however the hell you say that brand, they're going to be discontinuing the 701 Vitpillen and Svartpillen, as Spite was saying, to favor this new 890 platform across the board from KTM and Husqvarna. But do you think there's going to be a world in which there's 890s and 990s right next to each other?
No, I think what will end up happening is we'll see 790 stay where it is.
Yeah.
So I think the 790 number is a good number. If I'm not mistaken, that one makes like 105 horsepower, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And then the 890 makes closer to like 115, 120. Then what I think we'll see is maybe the 790 gets pushed just a little bit, makes like 110, and then we see the 990 making like 120 to 130 horsepower.
Yeah.
And the reason why they're growing, we've covered this one because we've covered the Dukes a lot, is because of emissions.
Yep.
So they're doing bigger engines at the same power output for better emissions, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the MT-09 just went through that, right? It bumped up 50 cc's just to keep in line because the emissions are starting to get real tough to clear, you know? And the only real way manufacturers can clear them now is by increasing the displacement, which is why I think by 2030, we'll see a Super Duke 1890, you know?
I think the main issue that's shooting the 690 platform in the foot is that it's a big fucking thumper. It's huge. And thumper motors in general are really inefficient. And they're hard to make clean. So it doesn't surprise me that they're favoring two smaller pistons. And
it's just not for everybody's taste to ride around in a single cylinder, especially as a street bike. You want the multi-cylinder smoothness. Single cylinders are very rattly and vibraty, you know, which is why some of us love them, right? But for a lot of people, it kind of stinks as a street bike. But, you know, I'm sad to see the Vitpillen and Svartpillen 701s going away because I think they're super lightweight, they're fun, they're relatively affordable, but it's very cool that the 401s will continue on because I love that motorcycle. Great bike.
I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that you were able to get these Svarts for stupid crazy cheap.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, they were selling at TJ's for like $79.99, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like, when Whitney picked hers up.
Like, that's so much bike for the money. That's crazy.
Yeah. But then on the flip side of this coin, we have some good KTM news, being their, they say 990 here, but I'm thinking they mean 890. But we have an actual plated Super Sport out in testing from KTM, which is exciting because they said they were never going to make a Super Sport again.
So my first thing that I'm seeing here for this 990, if you look at that rider triangle, that doesn't look super aggressive. Yeah, it looks very RS660, almost VFR-esque, almost Yamaha R3-esque. I mean, those clip-ons are definitely pretty up high. They're not super lean forward, so maybe they're trying to make a very road-focused, you know, easy comfort type of thing, you know?
I could see that, but then the question is, why get that when they have the naked bike?
Because you like the fully faired look. I don't know.
I suppose. But I have a feeling that this is probably just like super duper rough testing.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that this will probably change.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like the RC8C.
Yes.
It looks exactly like that front end looks just like it.
Which we have found news that is somewhat reliable that says that KTM is thinking about making the RC8C into a production bike.
Yeah, so maybe that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
But I'm also interested that there's a road-going 990 parallel. That I'm not sure if this is a typo or not. You don't get it often from MCN where they have something like that in the headlines. So
yeah, maybe it is the 990 itself and not the 890C engine. Maybe it is they're doing the 990 parallel twin in this Super Sport config.
Which means we've basically like come full circle now. KTM started 950 V-twin, 990 V-twin.
Yeah.
1090, 1190, 1290, and then they're like, whoa, we gotta go back.
Whoa, go back. We went too far. It's, you know, you start to think of this motorcycle, you're like, what exactly would this compete against, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 990cc parallel twin race replica, right?
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't really look like a race replica. It looks more like an all-day comfort type of bike. But you know, what do you think this would go up against?
Maybe the Super Sport from Ducati. Maybe
the V2. If it is race rep.
I mean, at that point, the 990, they'd have to really rod that out because
it would have to make like 155 horsepower.
Yeah, and the 890's making 120-ish.
Or it'd have to be ridiculously lightweight.
Yeah.
One or the other, or both.
Which, I mean, KTM, everything they do is lightweight, so
yeah,
you can assume they're going to hit that, but it's just, okay, so maybe they're trying to get this done to go against something like the Super Sport. Mm-hmm. It's like the fancier Super Sport. What do you think it would sell for?
I have no idea. Faired bikes are almost always more expensive than their naked counterparts, right? Because they're going to be building a 990 naked bike.
I think so. I would imagine.
Yeah. I would say this would probably come in at around like $12,500, $13,000.
That sounds right.
That'd be about my guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's supposed to compete against. But at the same time, maybe it is an RS660 style bike where you're just like, well, it doesn't compete against anything directly, but that doesn't mean it's a bad bike at all.
Yeah.
It's actually a great bike because it doesn't compete against anything.
Maybe it starts a new like category or something.
For me, you think of 1,000-ish cc twins, I think back to Honda RC51, TL1000,
Yep.
right? Those old school big twins.
How much were those making? They were like 140 horsepower,
yeah, I
or
think
something
so.
like that?
135. I think the RC51 made like 130, 135.
Go to torque though.
Yeah. And just a really sublime handling, nice motorcycle to get along with. Like, people really love those. So maybe it's doing that again. I don't know. But it'll be kind of funny if this kind of takes off as an idea, like big parallel twin super sports, right? And then everyone will be clamoring that the new Yamaha R9 will compete against it, and this whole thing, this whole drum that we're gonna beat again about these new bikes, you know?
It's just weird how we're getting to the point where there's literally a bike for every 10 horsepower almost.
Yes.
You know, if you want something really, really slow, you get a 125. If you want something a little slow, you get the Gixxer 250. And then you got 30 horsepower, 40 horsepower, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way up to like 230 horsepower.
Yeah.
That's
a really good point. There is almost a bike at every incremental horsepower like category on a base of 10.
And basically every style too.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier to think.
Yeah.
But at what point is it too segmented and you start competing with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they're phasing out the old 690s, because it is way too segmented even for KTM.
Yeah.
But yeah, this bike is pretty neat. If it does come out anywhere close to the RC8C, that'll be a very spicy, cool motorcycle.
It'll have winglets for the street.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but KTM, for their launch event for the RC8C, where I think they only built 50 of them. All the owners got invited to go to Jerez and ride with Danny Pedrosa on track and do like a track day experience with the bikes that they bought.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, all right, that's worth 40 grand. All right, fair.
I almost feel bad for Pedrosa at that point.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be with all these freaking sweats.
Yeah. All these absolute wannabes.
Poor Danny.
Poor Danny. What's our next bit of news?
Our next piece of news, more Supersport news, this time coming from China with this like Decepticon looking bike with, check out the brake disc covers like it's an old, one of those old touring Hondas.
Kind of looks like a GP bike with that brake disc cover.
Yeah. So this is the CF Moto SRC21, which they unveiled at EICMA, and it slipped under both of our radars.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing all kinds of crazy fancy tech here. We got the single-sided swing arm. I'm seeing this SC Project undertail pipe. I mean, it looks like it's a premium bike, and that's what they're trying to gun for here.
Yeah.
Which is odd, seeing as these guys have kind of a reputation for not great motorcycles.
Now, the first thing that jumps out to me in this article, it says, while CF Moto has confirmed the SRC21 harnesses a twin-cylinder engine with a capacity no lower than 400 cc, the equipment and design point is to a much more potent power plant. The concept's tail section and single-sided swing arm clearly borrow from Ducati's Panigale V4 playbook, while running lights resemble Aprilia's new RSV4 design language. That's the question. What kind of engine do you think would be in this, you know?
When you make a bike this loud looking,
you gotta have something special.
You have to have something in there. You
Yeah.
can't just run a 400cc parallel twin. That would just be miserable.
Yeah, it'd be a little sad.
I can at least see one pipe over here that looks like it's kind of far off to the side. So who knows? Maybe we're looking at like a triple or a inline four, because I've seen. I know Benelli has triples.
Yep.
That are made in China. They have inline fours and they have parallel twins, and maybe a thumper. But for sure they have the parallel twin, triple, and inline four.
Yeah.
They're all dog slow, except for the TRK 800 engine, which is now finally, for the first time ever, over square.
Yeah.
So maybe the Chinese motor companies are starting to get their heads out of their butts and figure out what Harley seemed to, which is you need over square engines if you want to make power.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty radical departure from anything else we've seen from CF Moto, which, if I remember correctly, they just make like those super cheapo beginner bikes, right?
Yep. It's nothing that we would consider show-stopping.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty show-stopping looking bike right there.
Yeah.
I mean, those look like Brembo brakes right there. Those look like Öhlins forks.
Yeah. It looks like a very similar set of hardware as my 675.
What if they start making like crazy 600s?
Yeah.
You know, because everybody else realized that crazy 600s don't sell anymore, so now China's going to make them dirt cheap.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know. I think, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you know, concepts always look so flashy and so cool and so interesting, but, you know, it always remains to be seen. But it's interesting for for CF Moto to be playing in this kind of space of hyper bikes and super leader bikes and all that stuff, and the super top echelon of motorcycling. I'm not sure if their brand has accumulated enough cachet to play in this space. I don't know if, for example, like if they made it, you know, 15 grand or something, right? Mm-hmm. Would you spend 15 grand for a CF Moto?
Nope.
Probably not, right? It'd have to really like blow your socks off for you to be like, I'm going to go spend 15 grand on this thing, you know? So.
Which means that they'd have a really hard time breaking into markets where people are going to spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to see that in the Indian market, which is where you normally see bikes like this show up a lot because they're made cheap and they're made relatively reliable.
Yeah.
You know? They can get a mule and it runs.
Yeah.
You know? This is a completely different ball of wax.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on the CF Moto Superbike. Not much more information on there, but we have one final bit of news, kind of an oddball one.
Yup.
This appeared on the Track Days channel on Discord, and I felt like it'd be fun to talk about. Apparently, Circuit of the Americas, our local track here in Austin, is going to be building like ultra luxury condominiums for people to live in.
At COTA.
So you can live at the racetrack. So can you pull up a map really quick?
Yeah, let's see. Where is it?
It says map right there.
The big map buttons, Bite. Just click on that.
Maybe the website's not cooperating with you. It does not want to show you the map.
Let's try it again.
We have detected you cannot afford what you are looking at.
Are you sure you wouldn't want to look elsewhere? It does not want to pull up the map. Let's download the brochure.
Yeah, let's check out the brochure. There we go. All right. So
I like how it starts a crib for your classic.
Yeah, so I guess the idea here is every one of these condominiums would have these giant bay doors where you can slide cars and bikes and whatever else inside, and it's going to be set up like a little, like, you know, mixed-use luxury development. Mm-hmm. Seems kind of Tinseltown to me, a little Disney World to me, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel so real at all.
Like, why would you... This is original design documents. They're not...
Yeah.
Why would you ever want to live in a place where it's got massive goddamn bay doors so that everybody can see you in your sundries, you know?
Yeah. Or maybe it's not a full-on, like, I'm going to park up here and live here space, but just like a hangout space that you happen to own. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the idea. Because I don't see anything about like actual bedrooms or kitchens or, you know, actual places to live. But it's literally situated right off of Turn 11 though, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of a haul though from the because have you ever parked? Well, you haven't been to GP.
I haven't been to GP, but I've done a track day at COTA.
Yeah, so you know exactly how long that back straight is.
Yes.
But when you park that for GP, you park way at the like back end of the back straight, so right by Turn 11, more or less. And you have to walk all the way over to where the band stadium is, right in the last sector, beginning of the last sector.
Yeah.
That is a crazy long walk. for anything. And I mean,
surely you would have a golf cart if you had your Coda Turn 11 condo, right?
Yeah.
Or an electric scooter or something, right?
It also begs the question: are you eating at the track too? Like,
yeah.
Are you gonna go get yourself your concessions pizza? Because there is nothing out around Coda.
No, there's not. It's like every other racetrack. It's pretty desolate over there. So the idea that you'd want to live there and spend time there is a little laughable, you know?
Yeah. Well,
maybe the real estate will reflect those prices, or maybe the prices will reflect that real estate then, right? Where it's like, if it's that crappy to live out there, maybe it won't be that expensive.
Not with the financial hole Coda's dug themselves into.
That's true, yeah.
Also, I notice in the blurred out background of this image, could this be any more man cavey?
I know. Well, they know who the audience is, you know? They're like, anyone looking at this brochure is some dude with more money than sense.
Like,
you know?
they got a Ferrari right here, a bunch of bourbon bottles there, a guitar next to the couch.
A leather couch, yeah.
It's just, like, this is painfully pandering.
Yeah.
And I love how it's this big, long bar, too. Like, you've set it up for your club.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It feels very not livable or cool to me.
It feels very like, we're broke.
Yeah.
Quick, we need to make money.
Yeah, because if you guys don't know, Coda has been struggling. Let's read what this says here. Coda Car Condos arriving Q1 2023, so about a year away from now. Located at Austin's famous Turn 11 at the Circuit of the Americas, the T11 car condos will be a unique opportunity to house your vehicles at a world-class destination for motorsports and entertainment. T11 features a clubhouse and amenity space accessible to all car condo members, including a pool, outdoor lounge, grills, club room, conference room, showers, outdoor plaza, and on-site management office. So it's not even livable spaces. Nope. It's literally just like, come buy like a weird little clubhouse space or rent it maybe. I don't even know if they're going to actually make it for purchase.
I feel like it would have to be for rental.
I suppose. It's sort of like, so at ECR, they've got, you know, garage spaces where you can just park your toys there and just rock up and then, you know, have fun with your toy, park it back in there and go home, right? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty sweet setup. I guess Coda's trying to do the same thing, but at like a crazy elevated level, you know?
Don't they do this at Driveway?
I think so.
I think they have something
I don't think it'll
similar.
be this. I don't think it'll be this nice, you know?
But I feel like Driveway already has something very similar to this.
Yeah. So it says you got units ranging from 1,300 to 6,000 square feet delivered for custom build out. So that's probably a purchase, not a rental type of thing. Mezzanine space included, access to premier clubhouse amenities. Ownership includes 2 full weekends dedicated to track time. That's it? That's it? Really? Private race viewing platform, 20% off Coda events, including concerts, 20% off Coda karting. So it's not even like a membership. It's not even a membership to the track at all. It's just like, oh, you'll get 2 free weekends. Thanks. Sprinkle that in, and you just get to park your car there with some bullshit amenities.
Also, can we talk about 6,000 plus square feet? Like,
this facility is 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
This whole space. So it would be 3 Gammy Noob HQs. How much space do you need?
That's like as big as the Apple store in Chicago, downtown. It's like that's 6,000 square feet.
Yeah,
I mean
6,000 square feet's a lot for something like this.
That's
huge, really big.
But I guess this is like where the windows. You can't even bang your trophy wives here.
Well, but you can. You'll just have an audience. And some people are into that. They're like, good job. Great. Keep going. Oh, he's done. That wasn't very long, was it? Well, let's move on to the next one. Let's check him out.
I just also love how all of these are filled with, you know, just top dollar cars. Like they've got the old Mustang Fastback and a bunch of sport bikes, which that kind of looks like a Daytona right there.
It does look. It is a Daytona. Oh, they're coming after me. What is that car? It's a Morgan, right? I think. That's kind of cool.
That looks
some old BSA looking thing.
It looks like a Vincent, like an old Black Shadow.
You see the ape hangers back there they got? They're like, we know your tastes. Yeah, this is a bit silly. I bet you they'll build some of these and nobody will really rent them or buy them out, and it'll just be like one of those like, this is a testament to your own hubris, you know? Look at the bullshit did.
If only you had paved Coda right the first time around, you wouldn't be in this problem.
Yeah. From what I understand, that soil just moves around a ton too. It's like you should have built it somewhere else, you know?
Well, the soil moves, but they have no foundation under the track. So that's why it gets so bumpy.
I'm just waiting until GP does it at ECR. World-class facilities. Nah, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up our news. We're now going to move over to the call-in portion of the podcast, which is not even a call-in today. It's going to be a discussion portion of the podcast. Let's get into it. All right, folks, welcome to the call-in portion of the podcast. We're mixing it up a little bit today. What we're going to do is ask all of our Discord boys who are watching this live right now, which, by the way, if you want to watch it live and participate, join over at yammynoob.co. It's a great way to support what we do. But all the Discord boys, we are talking adventure bikes today. Why are they so popular? What is going on with them? What's the deal with adventure bikes? So if you have something you want to chime in with, send Spite a DM and we can read what you've written and then discuss it. But let's start off with our impressions of what's going on with the ADV market. As a newly appointed ADV boy yourself, why don't you tell the world? Why does everybody have an ADV bike and what the hell's going on?
I think it's just wanderlust right now. We have this perfect storm of people who have been like stuck inside.
Yeah.
And we have stuff like the van life content being so huge.
It's true.
I think people just want to get out and travel a little bit. You see folks like Shade Tree doing it where he's like, I was talking to him when I was out in California with him at the Harley event. And he was like, yeah, I didn't buy a plane ticket back. I just brought $500 and figured I'd buy a motorcycle. So I think ADV bikes occupy that space where it's like, you can go do something like that, but not have the gamble of if it's going to break down or not. It's just a modern bike that's going to work, and it's going to give you that ability to go kind of see what's over the horizon. And I think it just happened to coincide with a global pandemic where everybody needed to be inside for a long time, and everybody got stir crazy.
I agree. Yeah, I think it is a bit of a perfect storm situation, but I also think that adventure bikes, they tick off so many boxes for people, especially the big class like the Pan Am and the GSs of the world. They're fast, they're comfortable, they have tech, they have features, you can ride them all the time. I think the only thing you can't really do with them is like track days. I mean, you can, right? It's not what it's really designed to do, but we've seen the Pikes Peak Multistrada ripping it up and backing it into the track, so clearly somebody can do it. Jack Miller can drift it around a corner, right? So why can't you? But I think that adventure bikes, they just tick off so many boxes for people, but also the middleweight adventure bike category right now is just exploding.
It's on fire.
And I think what that is just the price point of stuff, like it's just the price point of, having this bike that can do anything, go anywhere, and a little bit of mysticism in the press releases of, you going down this crazy trail and doing all this stuff, when in reality, you might just go down a nice little fire road and have some fun, camp out with your buddies, which, hey, for a lot of people, that's a good time. That's a nice thing you can do with the bike. And it gets you off the beaten path and gets you doing something. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's why people are into them. Yeah,
and I mean, now it's just like, it feels like for a while we had that just everything was, crazy naked bike.
Yeah.
And now it's everything is adventure bike.
Yeah.
And I wonder,
or sport touring as well, which is kind of like the adventure bike's weird cousin,
It's the one that the adventure bike doesn't want to admit is like, it's like Gale the Snail, basically.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you look at like our MV we have in the shop, the Turismo Lusso Veloce, whatever it is, 800, yeah. And it's got 6.5 inches of travel front and rear. Not terrible. It happens to be on 17s, and it's like, it almost looks like an adventure bike, which is why a lot of adventure bikes now, you're like, it kind of looks like a sport touring bike,
I feel like adventure bikes are just the evolved form of a sport tourer.
Yeah.
Because I was chucking the Pan Am through corners on the knobby the Anarchy Wild tires, and it was like, it works.
It was just stick. Same with me in the Tuareg in Sardinia. We were on these beautiful ribbons of paved road, and I was just It was on Pirelli Rally Scorpions,
They can make those bikes handle really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to drag knee on them or anything like that. But at least I'm not gonna. But I imagine Jack Miller could.
Hey, Jack Miller can do whatever Jack Miller wants. But let's see what the boys have to say about ADV bikes.
So first up, we've got Dreadnought Saz. Really simple here. Just Turbo
I love how
Pan Am.
Discord says, "Is this spam?" All right, so Dreadnought says Turbo Pan Am. What do we have to say about Turbo Pan Am?
That would be really weird.
That would be weird and kind of stupid, pointless. It already makes like 150 horsepower. I don't think power is an issue on the Pan Am, right? I haven't ridden it yet, but it seems pretty damn fast.
It's a fun bike, I can tell you that. Next up, we've got Just Jack with some, apparently all of them are going to be, is this spam?
Okay, Just Jack says, how are ADV bikes defined? Could you convert an enduro or a dual sport like a DR650 or anything else into an ADV, or is it a rigid manufacturer's category? Says, sorry for the double message. Oh, he just said the same thing. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I'm of the opinion that anything is an adventure bike if you want it to be. I think about
Gixxer 250.
Think about the Gixxer 250. It's basically an adventure bike. Think about Jake the Garden Snake's MT-07 Tenere thing that he did. Basically an adventure bike. I think the categories are a little rigid from a manufacturer's perspective, but whatever your heart wants to be an ADV bike can be an ADV bike, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 17s on the DRZ with, Dashinkos are barely tires to begin with, but I can put Pirellis on there if I wanted to. I can't believe you have
those Stinkos still on there, man. It's insane.
They just keep working.
Sure they do.
I'm bad enough off-road that any tire will do what I need it to do.
But I think it makes an interesting case. You look at an adventure bike, 450 pounds, travel enduro thing. You start segmenting them out a little bit, and it's all based on weight, right? You can totally take a WR250 and make it an adventure bike.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little punishing on the highway, though. That's the thing. You can totally make a BMW GS 1250 an adventure bike. It's going to be a little tough on the single track, Yep. So there's always compromises when it comes to adventure bikes, but that appears to be something that the market's definitely willing to accept that, for a lot of these guys, they have a tiny dual sport, they have a big adventure bike, they have a middleweight adventure, they have all these different bikes in the stable,
Yeah. I feel like adventure bikes are a weird thing where they turn into an off-road boy's daily rider.
Yeah.
And then they have the real dirt bike in the back of the truck.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of a weird thing where adventure bike is a bunch of different motorcycles.
Yeah.
But next up, we've got Millennial Malaise with his comment here.
All right. Millennial Malaise says, I've been thinking about this a lot lately and would be curious to hear your thoughts on it. There is this phenomenon in evolution called carcinization, in which all animals eventually turn into crabs. I've heard of this, actually, and it's very peculiar. I wonder if the same thing is happening to motorcycles. Much like cars, where crossovers now make up the dominant share of sales, ADVs and sporteurs are now commanding larger and larger market share. Do you think this is because people want one motorcycle to do it all, marketing, or people seeing motorcycles as legit commuters and less toys? Man, I think it's a confluence of things, but this is a great comment. Honestly, I think a big driver for the sport touring adventure thing, and people, you already know where it's coming from, it's economics, right? If you live in a household where you can only afford one motorcycle, it would probably look like a sport touring or an adventure bike.
Yeah.
Because you could do a lot of things with it, right? That's my take on it, where it's a little bit of the marketing, a little bit of this kind of carcinization thing that you're talking about here. But at the end of the day, for a lot of folks, even owning one motorcycle is a little tough, and you'd want one that does a lot of things. What do you think?
You only got the one butt,
yeah,
right? So if you can get a motorcycle that satisfies all your needs, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Obviously we have the luxury of goofing around with a bunch of different motorcycles all the time.
I literally own 5 bikes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I'm sitting here and the DRZ has been in the garage for a while. I went out the other day and there's dust on it. The DRZ has been sitting for a minute, and it's like I go out and what key do I grab? I grab the key to the bike I prefer more than the bike that I know I need to ride because I got to get the fuel out of the carburetor.
Yeah.
So if you can get one motorcycle that satisfies all your needs, go for it.
Yeah.
And maybe you get one or two little other ones that you just goof around with.
Yeah.
But you're gonna gravitate to one.
Yeah. I really think that we are kind of converging on this ideal motorcycle, like a crossover of motorcycles, and it's probably gonna look kind of like a Honda NC700.
Oh God!
It's a parallel twin utilitarian sport touring looking thing that's got a big windscreen, just because it can just do everything and anything.
Yeah.
But the one little thorn in this idea's side is that motorcycling is very different than cars. People buy cars because they serve a very functional appliance-like quality to them. That's their need, right? Motorcycles in America, anyways, are usually not a need. People buy them for fun, you know? And the last thing I'd buy for fun is a frickin' NC700.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's the last bike I would buy.
That would be so sad. But we've got one here from the Chazen, who is our Trail 125 boy.
Yep.
So this should be interesting.
There we go. He says, when will you review the greatest ADV bike currently available, the Trail 125? From what I understand, they can't even keep those things on showroom floors.
Nope.
I've never seen one in person. If someone has one that I can ride, I'd totally love to ride it. It can clearly go from the bottom of Alaska to the top of Alaska, as the boys over at CTXP proved, which is pretty sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, if we ever get our hands on one, we'll do it.
Because the Chazen just needs to ride down from wherever the hell he is.
Yeah.
On his little... he needs to do it on his Trail 125.
You gotta prove to us that it's a real ADV bike and come to us, dude.
Then we'll review it.
Yeah, go ahead and do 2,000 miles in the saddle on a 125. All right, who's next?
Now we got B the K.
B the K says, many guys in Switzerland buy an ADV bike because it is just so comfortable but isn't a big-ass cruiser. This is a really interesting thing about ADVs as well. There is a crazy crossover from someone looking at a Multistrada V4 and a Road Glide. You know, like there is definitely a Venn diagram of people there because they want something comfortable, looks cool. And I think a lot of guys that buy Road Glides just didn't get the chance to test an ADV because they probably would have bought the ADV.
Yeah, I think it's not a coincidence that Harley started their new motorcycles with the Pan America.
Yeah.
Because they knew that they could sell a $20,000 motorcycle to people who are already buying $20,000 bikes.
Totally.
So definitely some large overlap in that Venn diagram.
Yeah. And those bikes really are so damn comfortable.
Oh my God. We did
they just crush miles.
We did a long day on the Pan Am, on and off road, and we had stops for press shoots and stuff, and we're just sitting in the seat like this, and then we get moving. And I'm like, oh, everything's good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Emperor DD.
He says, hey, Spite, I was just wondering what I should look for in a sort of sport touring / ADV bike as a 5'5" rider with a 29-inch inseam for a good bike. Outside of the Pan Am with adjustable seat height, LOL, sport tourer preference. Part of me would love to know the budget, because my mind, for some reason, has been going V-Strom 650 lately, or V-Strom 1050 for the sport touring, just because, like, you think about Jix's Thou, I'm like, I bet you that V-Strom's awesome. Josh loved the V-Strom he rode in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, the V-Strom would probably be a great choice. I'm just wondering what the seat height is on that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I feel like maybe I got to imagine that there's going to be the Tracer 700 come to America.
I feel like they'd sell so many of those if they sold them here.
Yeah.
And that's a sharp looking bike. Imagine putting that SC project we've got on the R7 on that bike.
Oh my God.
Y'all are going to see that video in a couple days when this goes live, but we've got a stupid pipe on the R7 now, and it's hilarious.
It rivals the FTR in terms of sonic assault.
Yep.
So next up, we've got Orange, the KTM enthusiast.
Orange says, ADV is the motorcycle's final form. The motorcycle community is finally catching up with KTM 990 owners in the early 2000s. So Orange, from what I've seen in the Mountain and Trail Dirt Boy channel, he is basically banging on the drum that ADV bikes peaked with the KTM 990 in the early 2000s. That's like, that was like peak ADV, peak touring bike, best thing ever, blah, blah, blah. I certainly don't agree because all the tech and features those bikes have nowadays. You look at something like the Pan Am versus like this like bare bones, 990. It depends on the market, but for me, if you're going after that top segment, you want all the gadgets and gizmos.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, they ride for a few years and arrive at the ADV and settle into ADV land, because it does, for a lot of folks, tick off a lot of boxes, right? Like, that's kind of what happened to you. You've been riding for a while and you've kind of dabbled in ADV, and now like you're just like, I think this is where I want to go.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, they're fun. You get a ton of power, especially in the top tier ones. Like 150 horsepower and 90 foot-pounds of torque is nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah.
And it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you could literally just let the miles melt away.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And for some people, they like the challenge of hustling a big bike in places it's not supposed to go. It's not me. I'm going to tell you that.
I had so much fun just goofing around with the GS in the sand.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is awful. I love it.
Yep.
Next up, we got I Am Log.
I'm Log says, I feel that the reason ADV bikes are popular is that there are enough people that want new and better ADV bikes that those types of bikes won't fall into the same issues that dual sports fell into, where manufacturers won't update the bikes for years. Looking at you, Suzuki. That's a great point. ADV bikes tend to get more refreshes and updates, but I think it's a sort of like chicken and egg thing where it's like, well, they get refreshes and updates because a bunch of people keep buying them, right? Where I bet you if you looked at sales for DRZ 400s brand new versus V-Stroms versus Pan Ams, I bet you DRZ's this big and Pan Ams are this big, you know, for sales.
But here's the question. Are dual sports perfected at this point?
I think so.
Like
I ride my WR and I'm like, as a dual sport bike, what else do you really need, you know?
Yeah.
Like, other than if you went for like a KTM 500 EXCF, which sure, that's like Apex Predator dual sport, but the formula is the exact same. It's just better and lighter. That's it. It's a perfected tool, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like we're still working on the perfect adventure bike.
Yeah.
I don't think we're quite there yet.
Spite, the Tenere 700 exists. It's the perfect adventure bike.
I remember us sitting at the dirt spot yesterday, and you were looking at a freaking ledge being like, you think Poltaras could get up that?
It was a pretty gnarly looking ledge. I was like, he could probably do it.
Next up, we got California 556 here.
All right, he says, mid-size ADV bikes are a good way for the dirt squids to transition over to street and still have power because the 300 dual sports have no balls. That's an interesting idea, where ADV bikes are basically from dirt boys to transition to street. Have we seen much of that? I'd say that's pretty common, you know? Guy grew up with dirt bikes, goes to ADVs, kinda, you know?
I feel like whenever I hear I grew up with dirt bikes, it's always somebody who's about to get on a Gixxer 1000 be like, bro, I got this.
Absolutely. It's always that guy, yeah. Yeah, it's some guy named Taylor wearing a backwards cap hat, and he's just like, yeah, I grew up riding dirt bikes, so I can ride a 200 horsepower motorcycle.
Yeah, don't worry, I got this. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that's right before a massive medical bill.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, I think a lot of people think that the 300 dual sports don't have any balls, but if you're coming from like a 450 trail bike or a 450 motocross bike, yeah, a 300 dual sport feels absolutely anemic, but it only feels that way because those other bikes are insane.
Yeah.
Like a 450 motocross bike makes like 67 horsepower and weighs 230 pounds.
Because there is no God.
Yeah. You get on the throttle, it's about to pop your arms off, you know? It's absolutely insane. But, you know, if you're used to that, then yeah, getting on a middle-sized adventure bike, you're like, all right, this thing's got some punch, you know? Sweet.
I would actually argue the opposite. I think mid-size ADV bikes are a great way for street riders to get into the dirt.
So I thought about that too, and I think that basically everyone is better served by just buying a purpose-built dual sport.
They are, but you can't ride a purpose-built dual sport on the road, really. You can ride your...
I take my
ADV
WR on
anyway.
Mopac.
Yeah, but you're a masochist.
I'm going 72 and the front's doing this, but I'm on Mopac, damn it.
But that doesn't happen on a mid-size ADV
You're right,
bike.
it just goes. Yeah,
And
it'll cruise at 90.
And for a lot of people, as much as the ADV gatekeepers out there are going to be like, that's not true, fire roads is off-roading for people.
Yeah.
And if their ADV bike can do that, and it can get on the street and do a twisty road with their other buddies, then cool. And then they're like, wait a minute, I want to try something harder, and then they get the purpose-built bike.
Yeah.
As a second to put in the truck.
Or they take the adventure bike where it shouldn't go, and they're like, holy hell, this is hard, you know? And then they're like, I need a lighter bike, you know? Yeah, that's an interesting, usual progression from what we've seen.
So next up, we've got Yankee Hater 18. Okay.
Fun username. I've been soaking up Pan America content. Seems like everyone loves them. Seems like most people like them that have ridden them.
Yeah, I don't know that I haven't seen it. Anybody I've talked to who's gotten on a Pan America has had good things to say about it. They will say stuff like it's not perfect, which I don't think it's perfect. I think there's some weird Gen 1 flaws on it. Although I was talking to the guys from Harley, and they're like, we have to get you on a production one because this is solved. Like the transmission thing we were talking about. I was talking to a guy from Harley, and he's like, you gotta, float the throttle just a little bit to get it into neutral. It's just like a Ducati. And he goes, like no, we fixed it for production. So I think it's a lot of people they want something new from the motor company. Myself included.
Yeah, I'd love to ride one. I still haven't ridden one, so
I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Raishai02.
Yamcast question: will ADV bikes ever shed their nerd energy? Nope. And it's so tough because if you like motorcycles, you see an ADV, you get what it's for. If you've ever asked anyone who doesn't ride a motorcycle what they think of an adventure bike, you're not going to like the answers. I've brought home a couple adventure bikes and shown my girlfriend. Like I had the Multi and the Tiger 850, and I brought them home, and she just thinks they're so ugly and stupid. She's like, this is a dumb dad bike. And I'm like, you're right, it is a dumb dad bike. But it's very comfortable. It's very nice to ride. What do you think? Will they keep their nerd energy?
Oh yeah, forever.
Yeah.
As long as there's gatekeepers out there to like just battle, do battle in the comments section.
Oh my God.
Rattle swords and shields. There's always going to be somebody, because rolls downhill.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a nerdy bike, and ADV boys are going to dump on, the sport touring guys. Sport touring guys are going to dump on the CT125 guys.
I think sport touring guys are starting to dump on ADV guys because they're just like, you're a sport touring guy, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You won't admit it to yourself.
I've come around on that idea where I'm like, that honestly is true. It's true.
Next up, we got Matterlord.
The Hentai Hornet winner. I'm looking at getting a new bike in the next few weeks, and as much as I like the Hornet, I don't have room for a second bike. Would you or the channel be interested in the Hornet? Whew. I would.
Yeah.
Bring it home,
Yeah.
We'd have a 919 again, and it's the Hornet.
The Hornet.
Dude, yeah, DM us. Or I guess you already DM'd us. Let's chat. We could definitely... I could make room for the Hornet to be back here. I know you'd love to have a 919 here in the shop again.
The 919 is my favorite engine ever made. It's so good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got 41.
This is a fun question. Thinking about... This is a great... Okay, he's just goofing. Thinking about engine swapping my NC750X with my RSB4 engine, then maybe turbo it. Sleeper ADV is the next squid category. Is this the future? Thanks. First of all, you ain't doing that. Second of all... Hilarious answer. Thank you. Third of all, sleeper ADV. I mean, 150 horsepower is already a bit of a sleeper bike.
Yeah.
I mean, you could dust up on all kinds of shit on the street with that.
And again, and you're doing it from like you got this upright.
You're on a couch just ripping through space and time. The
only thing that holds them back is they're heavy.
Yeah.
But then you've got 94 foot-pounds of torque, and you're like, here we go.
I still remember when I started riding, I was on my R3 and I was on a late night ride, and there was a guy on a red Ducati Multistrada. And I was like, oh, look at this guy, Dude, he took off. He just went, bow! I was like, wow, that thing's fast. Because I was on my little R3, I was like, holy crap. I was like, this bike's slow.
Damn.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever been... Well, yeah, I have been dusted because my buddy has a 1290 Adventure and I have a 690 Supermoto, so he...
Goodbye.
Yep. Yeah. I just have repressed that memory. Those many memories.
That's like your buddy Don that had his Diavel stomped by Josh's SV650 and he pulled off and had to reassess his whole life,
So this is... Please react to this during the podcast.
Well, let it rip.
Boy, okay, here we go.
Play it.
Oh, this is one of German A2 boys.
Yeah. Well, that was really something.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
All right. Dreadnought Saz hit us back with, are we stoked on the KLR 650?
No. I don't really care about the KLR. I know people love it. It's a legendary bike, blah, blah, blah. There's better bikes, man. I think Howie did a great move by keeping it value priced, but there's better bikes.
Yeah. B the K hit us back with another one.
Okay, says in Switzerland the thing is it is illegal to ride off-road, so also no way to really ride a dual sport. There are a few fire roads, but I can't even ride them with my CBR 125R. What, really?
It's illegal to ride off? Why? How?
What? There's no trails and stuff?
Don't you have mountains specifically for that?
Yeah. Like you go to Colorado here, it's like there's just infinite trails.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Utah, there's just trails everywhere. Sounds like y'all need a little bit more freedom.
Here we go.
Need some freedom. Do they have any oil? We can go invade them.
Oh boy, here we go.
This is spicy one on the Yamcast here.
I'm not gonna touch that one.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap up our ADV discussion. Thank you for sending in your DMs. This is, for me, a fun format because we get to go through more people and kind of touch on a bunch of topics. Matterlord, I'm very interested in the Hornet. I will buy that bike back from you. No questions asked. That would be great. So let us know. And now let's move on to the meme contest. Alrighty, folks, welcome to this week's meme contest. Originally, this Yamcast was scheduled to go live 3 weeks ago, which made more sense for our meme contest because we made the Hipster video, but now it looks like we're just going back and, again, kicking them while they're down. But we're making fun of hipster riders this week, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we are making fun of hipster riders, but did Whitney tell you that the Revival people reached out to her?
Oh, they reached out to me, yeah, too. That's a meme in and of itself. Yeah, I got some nasty messages from the Revival Cycles guys. I told them it was just a joke, and it wasn't even about them, but you end up stepping on some toes doing this job, you know?
Which I guess we're back at the plate.
We should have a counter here at the shop that just says days that we last made someone angry, and it's like back to zero.
It would just be zero every day.
Yeah, we make people angry every day. I didn't think they'd get so upset. It wasn't really about them, you know?
No.
It was just like, you know, we used them for a couple things in the video just because it made sense, but yeah, I don't know.
I guess we just must have been that on point.
I really wanted to reply and be like, if you're that upset, I'd advise investing in a mirror.
Oh, savage.
I'm on one today, guys. I'm sorry. I'm on one. This is what happens when you start the Yamcast early. I got my energy.
All right. So without further ado, let's dive in before you offend everybody out there.
Yeah, I know.
So our first one comes to us from, let me make sure there we go.
Yeah.
It's coming to us from Adams.
All right. Adams here has a nice photo of a guy. That's a Transverse V-twin Honda. That's one of the CXs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It says drops 10 grand on to buy someone's cafe racer build and then can't figure out how to turn the damn thing on. That's a bit of a plague in that community, is buying someone's wretched crap bike project cafe racer thing.
Never buy.
No chance.
Never buy
chance,
a cafe racer custom bike.
Like if we do this $1,000 crap bike challenge thing, we're not buying cafe bike. No way, dude.
They never run. They never. The wiring is always done by like just some half-drunk person with a soldering iron.
And for some reason, all the money went into grips.
Yes.
The grips are super nice for some reason, and it won't start a run, and the carbs need to be synced.
That's why the cake was so expensive. It was $14,000 grips.
With 186 inch-pounds of torque. All right, let's rate this meme.
So, for Adams, quality.
I think the quality here, it's just a picture. How about a 5?
A 5, middle of the road. And funniness.
I think also middle of the road, a 5.
Yeah, very truthful, though. Next up, we've got Jellied Monster. With this one right here.
Jellied Monster here. This bike I hath created with my own 2 hands is the finest workmanship to ever grace this earth. Through my blood, sweat, and tears, I've created art to rival the beauty of the Mona Lisa. And then you, but can it run? And then I just angry.
I love this meme format. This is one of my favorite meme formats out there.
Yeah, this is a great one. I'm loving these reaction images of us in costume here.
Yep.
You with the crazy comb over thing you did was just gold. It was gold.
The power of zip ties.
Yeah. The fact that you zip tied your hair to that shape is just the most yammy noob thing I can think of.
All right, so for Jellied Monster here, quality.
I liked it. How about a 7?
A 7.
Yeah.
And funniness.
I think, what do you think, a 7? Pretty
7,
funny.
yeah. I
Pretty good
enjoyed
chuckle.
this one. Next up, we've got Nuggetizer with this guy right here.
All right, it's a little hard to read. It says, how am I going to spend the money from this gig? And it says, facial jacket upgrade, manicure, Triumph badge, carb tune.
Clip-ons, fix short.
Fix the short.
Chrome exhaust.
That's pretty funny. I guess it's in the mind of like, you know, some dude's trying to make his money from playing with his band or something and then, you know, trying to fix this bike. Okay. The text is, not only is it offensive to my aesthetics, but also like I can barely read that.
Mm-hmm.
So thin and wispy.
Quality here.
I think a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
And funniness.
5.5.
A 5.5.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Chancy Boy with this one.
Oh, damn it, that's good. Oh, man. Damn. All right, this is such a great meme format. So you got the Teletubbies going at it. It says lumberjack cosplayers putting M bars on UJM ship bikes. Yep. That about sums it up.
Oh my god, that's so good.
That's really good.
I've never seen this meme format before.
Oh, you have
This
it?
is great.
It's so funny. Oh, man. That's good.
Quality here.
It's high qual. It's a known format, but I loved it. I think an 8 for the qual.
Yeah, and funniness.
10.
Yup.
Excellent.
That was awesome.
Excellently funny. We gotta put that on Instagram. That's funny as hell.
God damn. Oh, man, that's funny. Okay, so next up we got Lil Fousey Bert with, I think this is a video. Yeah,
it is. Yeah. God damn, that was good.
Stand next to your Ducati Scrambler, look off into the distance, and wax poetic about how sometimes you just see a dirt road and you can't help yourself. You just gotta get out there and rip it on your
Scrambler, yeah, those modern styled scramblers that hipster dudes love these days.
It's like the guys like Steve McQueen, Bob Dylan, James Dean, Richard Nixon, Danny DeVito, all those kind of guys that would really jump on a bike and find themselves out in the deserts.
No, it's not a V-twin. It's actually an L-twin. Priceless.
Oh, bummer.
Il fine. That was really good. Yeah, I love the payaso thing at the end. You gotta love Gigi Delinea back there.
The moment that Pecco washed out.
Well, it was after Jack had washed out in H2 at Mazzano, the last race, where both top factory Ducati riders ate shit.
Yeah, but Jack went out first, and then it was all on Pecco, and that was after Pecco's washout.
Yeah. Oh, man. Brutal.
freaking moment. I'm not sure I totally got that one. Like, I do get it a little bit.
It's pretty much like the Ducati guys just like looking longingly and just like hearing these horrible things about scramblers, and then like the Payato thing is like, oh, you guys are clowns, and they just go down to their knee space. That's basically it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quality here.
I think it's tough because it's a video, and we just gave the other one an 8, but the other one is so well executed.
Yeah.
I think this is a 7, personally.
A 7, yeah.
I think the joke dragged on a little long, but yeah.
And funniness here.
I think it's a 7.5. It was decently funny, but you didn't really get it, so it's not universally just like, boom, hilarious.
Needed a little explaining.
Yeah.
Last up, we've got Hack Jockey. Oh, good grief.
Oh, okay, geez.
Is this all this one thing? Yeah, okay, Whitney just let it sit here for a while.
All right. Hack Jockey here wrote us a sonnet, it seems. To V or not to V, that is the question. Hold on a sec, I'm getting a call. Okay, it's spam risk. It's not important. 'Twas man's folly to replace their loyal steeds with contraptions of fanciful design. This is giving me palpitations for when I'm going to have to read the fanfic.
Yes.
Oh my God. After all, it was the horse who gallivanted the very unit of masculine prowess into the annals of history. Excuse me, I got acid reflux. Therefore, the astute factored a machine with wheels to number the square root of a horse's hooves. The Old Testament commanded that all creatures, great or small, shall stride abreast, 2 by 2. Thusly, discerning gentry had scientifically quantified what a motorcycle should be. British resolve heralded this new age of parallel twins. Once established, it wasn't long before colonies spanning the globe were producing a plethora of near-identical mechanical offerings. Then unsavory bohemians blasphemed their boxer engine, while technically abreast the idea was scandalous, if not overly obtuse. Secret societies were hastily established to ensure the survival of the parallel twin. The lineage of these machines and their noble owners can be seen to this very day, adorned in tweed and practical polyester weaves, reminiscent of brightly colored birds witnessed while on safari. These virtuous guardians of motorcycling wax nostalgic while sipping lattes as their inbreed freaks of incestuous engineering drip oil in the parking lot. Drip, drip. If you ever run out of ideas, follow the road. You'll never get there. Edgar Allan Poe. Wow.
That went places.
That really did go some places. Perhaps he misunderstood the meme contest to be a literary concept, a literary contest of some sort.
I do like when we get these literary entries, though. I think that now that we've opened up the realm for copy pasta, we're getting some interesting thought experiments here.
Yeah. I get where he's going. I understand kind of the flavor in the text here. It's a little hard to follow, but I think I do get where it's kind of coming from.
It's basically just like hipsters are trying to keep all of this history alive, basically, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, for Hack Jockey quality here.
Well, he did write that whole thing out, right? I suppose, or did he just copy pasta and change things? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if that doesn't feel like it's just any old copy pasta.
Yeah, ensure has been misspelt, so probably not. How about a 7?
A 7. And funniness here.
Not a single chuckle out of me. I think a 1.
Youch.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't funny at all.
Okay, so with that 8, we have Chancey Boy with just an absolute knocking the leather off the ball.
Going thermonuclear over here.
So Chancey Boy has taken first place with Lil Foozy Bert taking second.
And then Jellied Monster taking third.
And there we have it. That is the Yamcast contest complete. Nice and easy this week.
That's another one in the books, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in for the Yamcast. Short and sweet on the meme contest today. We hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much for everyone on stream. We are going to get going. Remember, if you want to join up and hang out with us, you should join on yammynoob.co. It's a great way to support what we do and join the Discord and have a bunch of fun with us. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later. All right, look, you don't have to lie to me. If you had time for one Yammy Noob video all the way to the end, you probably have time for another one. You should probably just click this link and watch the video right over here. I promise it's going to be good. You won't regret it. Seriously, you should just click it. I'm sure it's good. We only make good stuff around here. You should just watch it. Why are you still here?